everyone. Today's talk is titled Seeking the Absolute. And whether this is the absolute truth, the absolute reality, the absolute definition, the absolute image, whatever you want to see, let us just take the concept of the absolute. So when a human being, let us say, seeks the absolute aspect of their life, they are looking at, in a sense actually, observing a part of their moment of being which has an unknown quality to it. When we are seeking the absolute, we think that at first it is based on certainty, but when we look at the intelligence of man, it is individually being interpreted by its own choosing. So we are first creating language, and then based on our language suggesting this is the truth. But when we look at perhaps different states of consciousness and how the absolute aspect of one experience could be a whole different energetic expression, we are limited to our measurements because we are assuming that we are measured. We are assuming that you can measure who you are as a being and the aspect of your mind and the aspect of your body which is real to you. You know, it was a very profound perception because the concept of, let us say, a Godhead that is found in certain texts in regards to the Krishna consciousness movement, let us say we have the perception of God. And so it's as if this individual is working based on its aspect of intelligence as creation into discovering things. So creation is looking at the world of the creator, in which it is an individual part of, and as it is an individual part of this world, it is beginning to see, wow, everything is so awe-inspiring by this creator. Do you see? Now, one thing that there was an emphasis, these words which were suggested. It was as if your faith must be on in a sense, the one absolute form alone. Because if it is not, if you are creating deities in which you are working with, you are giving shape to an aspect of your unknown which you are not understanding consciously what is happening. What that means is, imagine there's food on your face and you're not realizing it's there, but it's on your face based on something you've ate, right? Based on something you've intelligently, as this existential inspiration, have done to be life, to be alive in this way. So in a sense, when we seek the absolute, you look at your world and you see that even the worlds can be different. So just as how man is as a creation, we are saying as a being, as a human being, we also have a creator experience. So it's as if Meister Eckhart had a reason to say that the same eyes that he saw God was the same eyes that God saw him. In the sense that such a suggestion is simply saying that man is experiencing life as creation, but also as the awareness of the creator to the creation, because every moment we are observing this body changing. It's being constructed and deconstructed in many systematic cycles, all encompassed within a greater system. So now, it's as if you begin to see, just like man having that simultaneous ability to experience creation and creation, his plane of existence does too. So what that means is multidimensionality no longer becomes just the certainty of the physical world. But when you begin to look at the nature of abstraction, the subtlety of your plane is done based on the nature of your concentration and how your concentration is based on some senses of reference, which are in a sense memories which you are keeping. Trust me, when it's like man's greatest communication was not with his fellow man, but was with his whole world, which was within his whole moment. Do you see? It's as if your moment of being alive, as you begin to pay attention to it in a significance that is natural, that if it's as if no one else is telling you what truth is, you've just silently and in a very still way sat beside a stream, or perhaps a rock between a stream, so the stream's going beside you, around you, and you're just sitting on that rock, and you're just observing the nature of reality, and you're seeing that simplicity and complexity never needed an interpretation in which man was lost in. Sometimes when you try to see where man is and why the seeker is seeking the absolute, you begin to see there's no reason to have reason. And so man must see that it is his sincerity that is a better judgment system, or let us say not judgment system, but a better guiding system than how he is judging things based on linear structures, which some people have, through not a very aware way, accepted as to be the correct thing. Because, you see, as consciousness, when you become existentially aware, when some knowledge or information is put there, you have ways of accessing your result without, how would I say it? You can know things without actually reading them. But you must have a sensitivity to how you're projected within this manifestation, within this moment. So what that means is, if you're considering yourself as bound in a box where there's a segmentation of space and time, your intuition could potentially not even exist based on how you're conceiving your world to be. But as your axioms of why your identity is shaped in the way are looked at by your deep self-contemplation and observance, you begin to see that there was something in a paradox, the concept of a paradox, that suggested the simultaneous vision of man in how man was always present in more than what he saw. What that means is, when vision began, let us say from nothing, as it became aware of thing, that thing was constantly made aware of. It's as if when this cosmos woke up, it didn't stop. It just began, it woke up, it began doing things, it began looking around, and there is a sense of infinite growth, which is suggesting why we can even grow. You must think of it in the sense that the human species must center its ideology to the planet. So the reason Mr. Within is talking about nature so much is because you begin to see, actually, that if we do not associate as an idea, but begin first very naturally in a very self-conscious manner as individuals, begin thinking as the human species, where you're trying to protect the human species in the healthiest way, where the children of our children would be making decisions that are celestial. You see? We need to begin seeing that as you go into working and being with humankind, and in a sense seeing how real it is to help all human beings and all life forms to survive, it's as if man takes the existential responsibility for his individual self, then he takes an existential responsibility for his collective self, as society is every being that is individually being kept in our sense of unity, do you know? And then after that, man as humanity takes the next step into integrating with this world. So actually, it's like each individual is having such an authentic, such a natural, such a flowing life in regards to how their consciousness is being present, where the the individual is not bothered by ideology, but personality is spiraling into presence, into awareness, only as the being takes steps into the manifestation chosen. So you begin, when the segmentation of time and space changes, non-linearly you get access to infinite imagery. So that person who thought he was getting the recollection or a past life regression was actually getting a reception of imagery which, based on how much he wanted to work with linearity, came into his view. What that means is, when you become selfless, when imagery is not defining how you're becoming aware of things, there is no longer a need to have certainty, because the certainty is in the observance, not in the object of observance. Do you see? So the observer is actually nothing, because he is beyond no thing. So you begin to see you are a victim until you observe the victim and you're like, wait a minute. Why am I wearing this kind of coat? Why am I wearing this kind of imagery? Why am I accepting that I'm this kind of person? Why am I accepting this suffering that doesn't belong to me? Who put the imagery of me suffering? Who put the image of me being depressed? And you begin to see, whoever it was you who chose to go on with it. And so man has some aspect within him which, regardless of whatever happens to the lion, he has the roar always there. You always have an instant ability to be the knowing, being the absolute as you are. Do you see? And this is a very unique relationship, because a human being communicating to other human beings about a multidimensionally collective experience is something where the task was already done. In, for example, seeing the simplicity that, as I said these last words, everybody from their unique point of existential attention heard it. Do you see? And so this reality, aside from its physical beauty, has a multidimensional beauty which is constantly bursting in the way in which you are focusing and concentrating and being aware to this reality. You know, at times it is in how you are maintaining your awareness to thought as a being, existential awareness beyond thought, in which you find a way out of the deception of an idea. So what that means is, the idea can get chained, can go to hell, the idea can go to heaven, the idea can walk in wherever. But beyond the idea, that which is observing the idea is that immediate moment where action was always active. In the way that you see, what your heart knew was that it was not the one beating for you. It was the rhythm of life that was keeping you. You see? It was the intelligence of life that was maintaining everything. Man created the idea that thought it never had enough. Do you see? So as we get this level of awareness to the subtlety of thought, man does not ignore it. Because I've noticed something. The Western mind, many people are nowadays trying to get rid of the ego, but I don't think you should try to get rid of imagery that's naturally there. Do you know? Instead, I want people to begin giving themselves more existential allowance in seeing how the ego is integrating with everything in the moment. Change your ego into a being who is absorbing everything and working with the humility of life. So when I was young, there would be moments where I would be very humble, but not in a way where I would think about it before. It's just my mannerisms were ones where it was a bit insecure, actually. And I noticed that I would try to have a humility. It was kind of like a polite act of trying to, for me, to maintain my environment or something, you know. But then I realized that humility is nonsense. Because the real humility is the being able to stop everything, including his interpretation of the moment, and to simply be aware of his moment. When that happens, you see that humility is one where you are humble enough to let go of anything. So what that means is you were thinking of what to do after someone said something that you were depressed. No, as a being, you will stand in a way where if people say things that do not resonate with you, you observe it like a spectacle and you just see the roots of their communication. Your self-awareness only needs orientation as an individual. But as the awareness to the individual, it is that which is giving orientation. So what that means is any manifestation within your experience is being experienced. So the separation is just one aspect of the moment which man is considering still holistically. We think we're looking at things individually. It's all holistic. It's simply just, it's omniscience remembering itself through the individual's eyes. When you seek the absolute, the seeker must dissolve in what he is seeking. And what that would mean again is that Rumi, a very profound Sufi mystic poet from 800 years ago in what I believe is Persia. And you see that this man has this quote where he says, "What you seek is seeking you." And simply put, as you project yourself to approach yourself consciously in your reality in a certain way, that moment where you become interested by the word meditation and without having even done anything, just go look at a candle and see how long you can look at it, you begin to see, you begin to realize the nature of how you are present is really being based on the interpretation which when you look at it is not there, because you're looking at yourself. It's very important. I think Mr.Within would really like to establish this idea that all words are hollow and it's a self-reflective sense of intelligence when we look at words. So when someone says something to you, there is the understanding and the view of the first terminal communicating it, but there's also the unique reception of the second terminal receiving it. Do you see? And so as we're observing the same thing simultaneously, we each are having our own simultaneous ways of comparing to it and understanding that image. What that means is when I kick a football in the air, a soccer ball in the air, some people in the world are seeing a soccer ball, some people are seeing a football. Do you see? Our observance, our language is simultaneous because we are projecting the life. We are cutting down sound and giving it such a meaning and using it like this, but if we dissolve into sound also, we begin to see that the experience shifts, and it will become as if we will see that there was nothing weird about change. And the word weird and strangeness and insanity must be seen as the peak of change. What that means is that when you, from your normal view, are changing, suddenly you will look different. What that means is some people are used to just being on the branch, so the eagle just has the view on the branch, you know, all the other eagles are on the branch, but suddenly one eagle decides to fly up high. And as it flies up high, it begins to see the whole forest and where the tree is and whatnot. And when he comes back on the branch and he tells them, and what do people say? He says, "What do you mean?" It's as if like, gosh, let me see if I can get through explaining this. Pretty much, there's eagles on a tree. One eagle flies up, gets a higher view, comes back. Other eagles don't believe him. They call him insane. Pretty much suggests the way the world is insane in regards to acting to insanity, reacting to the concept of insanity. So take that football example I said earlier, football soccer example, and see that everyone has their own way of putting fear into a shape. What that means is not everyone has the fear of snakes in the same way. Do you see? So it is a projection of mind into understanding its environment and seeing that because it is choosing only an individual aspect, it's never going to feel complete. And you see, what are some mentalities and ways of thinking of people who desire a lot? People who are seeking money, or seeking certain results, certain profits. You begin to see that it's not about that physical action. The physical action could be anything. It's the way the guy is behaving in his moment, and he is observing himself the moment that is making him feel as if he's an individual. Do you see? Certain actions give you individual perception. Certain lack of actions give you collective senses of perception. What that means is that moment when you were about to get angry and shout at that person, you stop and you sit down and you close your eyes and you just observe what's going on. And you see after a few minutes, the anger has gone. Just like dust being brushed off your shoulder. It is it's a very clear moment when self-awareness no longer needs ideas. I hope this talk has served you. What I would really like you to take from this is an understanding that you need to seek the absolute. And the absolute does not mean the infinitely changing images that can happen. It's not about getting a better one. Do you see? That is a program. That is a program way of living. We want to be aware of the programmer and beyond the programmer. So what that means is you must look at your way of thinking, you must look at the world around you, and you must look at where you are right now in a present moment without any consideration of thought beforehand, and just see what's here. And then you will know. Because gurus had only done their job well when they weren't needed anymore. Do you see? So now mankind, with his ability of globalization and his self-awareness and his history, which is all beautiful information for him to build new realities of harmony globally, what man needs now is existential allowance, trust in life, compassionate perception, and an ability to walk gently and to move into the next transformation. Whether you're born or whether you have died, you're aware of the subtlety and the nature of reality, and you're so aware of your plane of existence that when death comes, you have seen everything in regards to experience, and you begin to see that death would never come in that way. For there's a difference between someone living in confusion and working more like an animal, both in regards to his desires and in regards to his just labor. You begin to see that it would be much better to have lived a life not just for others, not just for other people, but for your whole world. When you as an individual being recognize the beauty in living for your collective, living for your whole moment of existence, which is encompassing everything within it, your energy will rise, because there is so much novelty in your awareness that you are not manifest here. You are an observance untouched by a form that needs to be there. Do you see? So it's more of you getting into a sense of existential comfort, and there's existential allowance, and as self-awareness is realizing itself, you are in a sense as letting go of all your imagery and associations and pillars of duality, and in a sense coming back to that moment where the architect never picked up the pen. And so then you will see that the blueprint to this universe is truly a beautiful one. Because consciousness knows itself always in all ways. Seek the absolute, for your seeking all that is. Much blessings and namaste.